I got money on my mind. I'm just trying to get some dough. I ain't picking up my line unless it's money on the phone.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the Black Wealth Renaissance Podcast. Your boy David Bella, 1/4 of the Black Wealth Renaissance, checking in with my co-hosts. Fellas, how y'all feeling?
Man, we feeling great today. What up? It's your boy Jalen, man. Another quarter of the Black Wealth Renaissance. Man, just lovely on this Saturday. This is the second show of the day, and
Good
we still
energy.
going. Man, these guests got some great energy. So look, I'm ready to get it started. How you doing over there, my brother?
Hey, man. Your boy Jared checking in. I can't complain, man. I'm real excited to get into this episode today. We got somebody with a list of accolades a mile long. So I'm ready to really get into this episode and see exactly, how that whole process went.
Man, it's about to be another dope one. But look, y'all, before we introduce our guests, as always, y'all know what we got to do. Y'all make sure that y'all like, subscribe, rate, comment, wherever you're listening to. It helps us grow the show. If you are a first-time listener, let us know what you think. Give us some feedback. We always want to do our best to provide you guys with the best content possible and give y'all the education y'all need.
Yeah.
Now, with that out the way, let's introduce our guest for the day. So on today's episode, y'all, we got a brother like my man's Jared mentioned with a long list of accolades, former president of Roc Nation, music industry vet, worked at multiple major labels, has his own distribution company, and he got real estate popping, man. I got none other than Mr. Benny Pough on the pod. Benny, how you living, my brother?
Yo, thank you guys for having me, man. I'm super excited about spending some time with y'all. We're gonna be here as long as you want me. So thank you.
Hey, man. Well, we just want to say thank you for coming on to the show. Welcome to the show. We know that our listeners, they're going to be excited about this. We're excited about this. And we just going to really just get right on into it. For those who really don't know you, can you kind of give just a brief introduction of what it was like to become to this point that you're in your life?
So when you ask a failed comedian, right, ex-music promoter, brief, you want the short version or the long version of who I am. So I'll condense it.
We got time.
I'll give you the pitch. It just depends on how deep you want to go on how I started, right? So first, I must say I'm the son of Janie and Benjamin Pough, right? They were born in Orangeburg, South Carolina. So we keep them Southern roots all the way tight, right? I'm from White Plains, New York. Grew up in White Plains. Attended White Plains High School and graduated playing football. Went to a D2 school, figured out that didn't work for me. Then transferred to St. John's University, where I got my degree in communication and marketing. Spent some time in the music business for the last couple of decades, being a part of some of the success of some people you might know. But we'll get into that journey as you guys choose. But I'm super excited to be in here and getting involved to what you guys want to touch on.
That's a bet. And I kind of want to talk, because you mentioned it off camera, I want to talk about the nitty gritty. You said at 11, you were out here slinging paper. I want to talk about what was life like for you growing up in New York, and how did that kind of shape you into the man that you are today?
That's a great question. So I'm actually taking it in a different direction. I have a book that's coming out called On Impact, and it actually chronicles my journey from 11 years old to now being on BWR, right? And what it is an inspirational, motivational business book that was inspired by a car accident that I was in that hit a tree at 90 miles an hour. Had a major concussion, L3, L4 vertebrae fractured, bulging disc in my back, lost half the blood in my body, lacerated my liver, and lost 2 feet of my small intestine. And that situation actually birthed a book, which I call On Impact, which is coming out next year. Pre-orders will be available January 2021. And what it does is bring you through my journey right now, from 11 years old being a newspaper delivery boy to, as I said, to this point. And what's so great about it, it gives you the underline of current day business as well as all of what I've done in music. So I'm super excited about that coming out.
Sure. So Benny, I kind of hop in. So like, I know we talked about like you started off as the paper boy. So where was your start in the industry? Was it after college? Was it?
Did you kind of get introduced maybe in college being a party promoter? How'd you find your way there?
Man, everybody ain't promoting, B. Everybody no party promoter, B. Some of us just got that business, right? But it's actually interesting. My journey into music, I kind of fell in. I did stand up during college. You know, I was there when the Uptown Comedy Club started. You know, Bill Bellamy's a great friend of mine. JB Smoove, we all started. All of those cats when there wasn't avenues for Black comedians, right? We started the Uptown Comedy Club, which in turn was the birth of, if you think about it, was Def Jam Comedy Jam, birthed out of that era of comedy. So a young lady who was actually the promoter at Motown Records, she booked me for a show. And at the end of the show, she asked me what I was doing. And I just graduated that summer. And I hadn't even prepared my resume. And she said, why don't you come down and be my intern? You know, where we grew up from, at that point, nobody knew what no intern was. But since she asked me, she worked in Motown, I was like, yeah, I'll be your intern, right? Didn't know it was a free job, right? But used to doing that also. So once I got there, she introduced me to college radio promotions, and I was also her assistant. So needless to say, at that time in my life, I was, had strong business acumen. So I was typing like 60 words a minute from home row, doing all of that. And, you know, the business hadn't seen that. And, doing a lot of reconciliation of her paperwork and her expenses. And I realized kind of threw me off a little bit, right? Because no one ever explained to us what really expenses was. And I was processing this, checks coming in, expenses going out. And I asked her one day, because I thought it was her money. And she said, no, it's not my check. It's expenses. So I said, explain that to me. She said, when we go out, we drink, we eat, the label pays for my car note, they paid for my insurance, they paid my phone bill. I was like, what? Like they do all of that? And she was like, yeah. And that's when I decided I wanted to be in music, right? Because my background was sales, and realizing that music was a non-traditional product, but music is a product, right? Mm-hmm. And what you do in the game is you're realizing at that time, you could take a relatively nobody in the music business, someone with the talent, and create them and push them through the system and pretty much make a star in 4 weeks. I mean, now somebody can literally be made a star instantaneously, but the cycle normally was about 4 weeks. And that was my entry point into the music business.
And that's interesting. That's interesting that you're talking about, like, it was you viewing those expenses, because we hear a lot of stories of artists and how kind of like some of them kind of get pimped in the industry over their expenses. Like, the record label, they're going to pay for this, they're going to pay for that. And then a few years later, you hear about these deals. People are upset. They're upset about, oh, I didn't know that was covered in that. I didn't know about this 360 deals and everything like that. But it was the fact that segue is what brought you in there. You saw the benefits that this lady was receiving being a part of that record label. You saw her benefiting from being able to get those expenses and not actually having to be an artist to receive those things. So that's really cool that that's how you were able to break into the industry, saying, okay, I want to figure out how they can start paying for my stuff, because I'm pretty sure that is what was going through your head, correct?
Absolutely. When you think about, at the end of the day, when you look at your money, right, it's about, how much your money you can maintain, and someone else pay for your lifestyle is really what we're talking about, right? And obviously performing a talent, right, or performing a duty that's required for doing that. Nothing is free. Like you was intimating about artists and how they wind up, at the end of a journey and wind up with nothing. Well, that comes with respect of money, though. You got to understand it, because nothing is free, right? And I think we as minorities and Black folks and African Americans, right, is that we just happy about the opportunity as opposed to what the consequence. When you think about the consequence, you don't have to take everything somebody gives you. Your mama tell you that, grandmama tell you that, right? Everything ain't for you, right? But when you get emotionally attached, then you make decisions, you know, that may not be best for you. It's just, you know, decisions that you make because you want to be a part of something and you relinquish too much, right? You should never decide to do anything under duress, right? Just take a moment. And duress is not, you know, a gun to your head. Duress is like, I'm emotionally, you know, just excited, right? And when in those situations, you should always take a step back.
Looking at it kind of like from that Master P perspective instead of just taking the money.
That's right. That's right.
They offered me the $1 million.
What am I?
What's he gonna get? What are he getting? Somebody gonna give you $1 million? What, to make two? Nah, B.
Not at all.
Nah, like, come on. You know that.
Jared, you got something?
Yeah, I did want to go kind of like a question back into what you had said. So you had said it usually took a 4-week cycle. And so with that, you meant like a marketing cycle that y'all had to promote the artist?
Absolutely. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I don't hear a lot of people talk about the actual marketing that has to go into music to make these artists. So like, could you expound on that a little bit more?
So if you think about when you discover an artist, right, it's in your terms and at your time and however it's been presented to you in your space, right? So it's a new experience. That doesn't mean that that artist hasn't been around, right? So now in modern day, you know, normally when you're starting to see mass marketing or it's on your radar, whether it's Spotify or Apple Music or, you know, or YouTube and wherever you are at your discovery point, right? That artist has already been setting his or herself up, right, in order to be in the right spaces for discovery. And that process could be anywhere from, you know, zero, the artist that you see now could be 0 to 3 years, right? 4 to 5 projects. And when you finally get it, what's the first thing you do? When you find something you like, you go back to see what it was and who they are, and you're discovering them that you didn't even know about. So that cycle, right, was kind of different when I started because we actually controlled all of the gatekeepers, right? So now with music, you know, the middle guy or the label is more of a finisher than they are a creator. Like, so if you don't have a vision for yourself coming to a label, then it's very difficult for a label to move you forward, right? You might get lucky. You have to come in with your brand and identity and how you see yourself, and the label can then put fuel on that fire and ramp it through.
So with these labels, that like this, they're taking this initial investment, they putting it into these artists, and it may take this cycle. So like, can we talk about like what is it exactly like that the label is getting out of this? Like, what are some of the like the recoupable expenses that they're getting, and just kind of like how they profit more from the artist than what they're paying them at the time?
Well, ultimately, it just comes down. I mean, if you really think about it, it's not even that complex. It's simple mathematics, right? The label's putting up all of the money, right? Just like your bank. Think about it as a home, right? They giving you a loan, right? And at the end of the day, you come to the bank and you go, hey, listen, I got a good job, right? Me and my lady, and we're gonna commit to this for 30 years. And at the end of the day, if you fall short, right, the bank is at risk you're at risk of losing your product, and the bank is at risk of not getting their money, right? But ultimately, they'll get the asset in the event that you default. And so it's no different with an artist. The label is the bank. So whatever deal you structure with the bank, right, if it pops, it's great, right? So now you have to deal, why it's so sensitive in the beginning, what percentage of my success am I banking on, right? And the leverage only becomes when you walk in the door. That's why it's better to create a little more momentum for yourself than coming in ice cold. Hey, the 4 of us get together, we rapping, somebody signs us. Well, we gotta give up everything. They taking all the risk, right? But if you coming in, you streaming, or you touring, or you selling merch, yo, that's a whole different conversation and leverage, right? So ultimately, you know, what's recouped is based on what's spent, right? So if you think about it, once you get into your business, yo, you know what? You might structure your deal different. I want everything approved through me, but you need leverage through that, right? You can't spend $1 without coming to see me first, right? Or you have certain expenses that you can do without me. So it's just structuring your deal is more important than, you know, the knit and grit of, you know, for the level of conversation for folks on here, right? It's always about just doing good business. And music is no different than anything else we do in life, right? And how you approach it. There's no reason why you should go to a label if you don't have a lawyer. And your lawyer should be a music business lawyer. Your lawyer should not be a tech lawyer. Your lawyer should not be a real estate lawyer, right? Your lawyer shouldn't be a textile lawyer. Your lawyer should be somebody good in music, right?
Not a lawyer that works for the label.
Just a lawyer because he a lawyer, or your people because I'm trying to save money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, when you go into the hospital for life-saving care, you're not thinking about how much it costs. You want your life saved, right? So when you're sitting at the table with your deal, you should think of your lawyer like that. Save a little more money then, because you need the best lawyer who's going to help you, that's going to move you through and educate yourself. Because lawyers, you got to think about it. It's no different than anything else as well, right? When you think about banking, or you think about lawyers, or you think about, you know, like specialist doctors, you're a one-off, right? Until you create the relationship. So they're not vested in you, right? So they're going to do good business. And if you don't know what to ask for in any of those aspects, in music specifically, then you don't know what to get. So don't just go because my lawyer says so. Well, your lawyer's just doing his job. And they may, right? Once again, it's no different than like being in the court system, right? DA and prosecutors, right? Like, think about it. When your lawyer comes in, is this why people get either the best lawyer or outside lawyer? Because all of them in cahoots together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You just getting convicted. Well, yo, you're going to trial one time. They got to see these guys, yo, at Roof Chris. You know what I mean? They gotta go to the Senate. They got to do all of that. So you not really you would hope, right, that your priority, and let's give the benefit of the doubt because everyone's not the same and this is not one broad swath, but you know, you would hope that people always have your professional people have your best interests. And that's why it's important for you to know your business on what to ask, because you're interviewing people that come in your camp. You're not hiring, right? You're interviewing them because they have to be on your side in anything you do.
Yeah, you hitting on a lot of stuff that I kind of want to dive into, but I kind of want to take it back a little bit and get back to the story of after you got that, after you got that internship, what was it like, that next step from that internship? How did you, once you said, okay, this is what I really want to do, how did you attack it and really just go full force?
So my motto's been, since I started working, was to outwork everybody, right? So I literally, like all the things you heard in high school or heard in college, right? The first one in, last one out. You know, always be prepared for the opportunity. And I committed myself to that. Like I threw myself into the business and educating myself on what the business is about. I cut my bones in doing radio promotions, as I stated to you. And I spent a lot of time in developing concepts and programs for Motown Records for the various artists at that time. Was Boyz II Men and you know, Shanice Wilson and, you know, artists like that, and realized that, you know, this was something I really wanted to do. And what Motown provided, right, because each situation provides a different element for growth, right? It was one, it enabled me being at an African-American company at the beginning of my career, gave me the comfort of being at home, but you know how we are, we hard on ourselves, right? So, yo, the network of folks, they loved me, they saw talent, and they pushed me, right? I didn't do it on my own. I didn't get here by myself, right? It was about the mentoring and being a good mentee, right? Always asking questions and being humble, right? And people invite you in different rooms. Like people will bring you around, and that what was most important, and being honest and true. You know, like the music business can expose you to a lot of things, but you know, you should be the same person going into the business, any business, that you would be once your gig is up, right? And I think that's what people were drawn to me was integrity, and that's what helped move me from label to label. You know, spending time at Motown was like the education, and it was a great education because, with some of the best Black talent in the business at that point, right? And being around those people, just sitting in the rooms, or either overhearing or either asking questions, set me up for my next move, which I moved on to Perspective Records, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis's label, and spent a year there, and did their street team marketing and lifestyle promotions for them. And then I left there and went to Arista Record in Washington, D.C. And I was a regional promoter there, right? And it was great. Another, opportunity. I thought that was quite amazing. Growing up in the suburbs of New York, White Plains, it's diverse. Probably then it was more 70% white, 30%, African American, and other mixed in. And when I moved to DC, was profound, because I never had the opportunity of seeing just successful Black folks, right? Washington DC back then, man, like you had Black tailors, Black banks, right? Black bookstores, everything you could go and do your business, right? And look at somebody across the table who was just like you. And I thought that was quite intriguing. And that gave me a whole new thrust on how to approach, like, moving through this business. Left there, went to back to New York and got a big shot as the national director of promotions for MCA Records in New York. Left there and went west with the company and got a really big job as the senior vice president of promotions. And that opportunity opened up a lot. I worked 4 albums after 411 for Mary J. Blige. All My Life, Casey and JoJo, that staple song. Shaggy, It Wasn't Me, right? And this little artist, probably at every wedding song now, Jesse Powell, You, put that record on my back. And that was the record that really defined me as someone that would be, one of the noticeable promoters of modern day. Was that record, which defined me as a talent in the business. And then moved on from there and went to Def Jam in 2003. Was brought in to manage their promotions and marketing department, and that was an incredible run. Where came out of Young Jeezy, DJ Khaled, Rick Ross, Mariah, Emancipation of Mimi, Justin Bieber, Justin Bieber, Neo, right? And that was probably one of the most profound runs in modern day music. On, we walked into the business at a 2.3 market share, and when we left, our team had taken Def Jam, which was ice cold, to 11% market share, which obviously revenue increases share to share, right? So that was key. And I left there and went to Epic Record, where had an opportunity working along with LA to sign my first really big notable artist at this point, Future. Signed Yo Gotti, I signed Cash Out, Riding Around with That Nina. He was a fun, that was a fun record. That was a hit. That was one of the things, like, those are the kind of projects that keep you young, right? We also had 21 Savage, and Travis Scott was a part of that. And, that run as well. And left there and went to Roc Nation, which, we, the team and I, we created EQ Distribution, organized, the company and the music end of things, and had a great run with them, and decided at that point, like, it's after all of the decades of being in music, if you think about it, what the contribution, we as executives, right? We just like prize fighters, they get your best years, and it's like, what do you have in the end? Mm-hmm. And before my legs got too tired, I decided, like, yo, you know what? I want to take a shot. You can identify talent. I've identified executives, right? And now what I don't have was equity in the game, right? In the music piece. Like, there's a difference between making a great, and the game has been wonderful, right? Like compensation has been great, right? But what does that matter if it stops the day you stop, right? That big check come a real small check fast, right?
Hell yeah,
right?
especially whenever your expenses is more than what's coming in.
Yeah, but more importantly, like, the music business is a very specific niche of executives that, are overly compensated. I mean, they're like NBA players, like, the people who are making it, right? And then there's middle tier, and then there's, just like anything else, the people in the back room, right? The people that make it work, that only making like $35,000 a year, right? But they're the ones that keep the engine going. And I decided, like, you know what? I want to take my shot at it, right? And that's when I stepped out and decided to do D.Verse Media, full-fledged distribution, and take a swing at it, right?
I love it, man.
I love it. Hey, man, like he just took us through the real timeline.
The thing is, to me, like, listening to your timeline is like hearing it. I appreciate it so much because you were part of curating the culture, man. Like you said, you were pushing all these artists, you were finding these artists, you were doing all this for the culture, like people that we appreciate a lot to this day. And at the end of it, you found that, like, yeah, I was compensated well, but I didn't get no equity. And I helped build this. Like, I'm the one that built this. So I love that mentality of it because we talk about it all the time on the podcast, where it's like, if I can do this for you,
why can't I do it for myself?
So let me give you a caveat to that. So what was important for me when I first left Motown and realized that when I got to Arista Records, that there were no salt and pepper hair black men walking around, right? So in the music business, you're not gonna see, a whole bunch of like, ha, 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 didn't we do well? Jerry, Dave, this has been a great run. Like, you 65, 70, 80 years old, right? You're not gonna see no 70-year-old black man still in music, because it's a different game, right? If you look at, the complexion of music, it's not for us longevity wise. We're viewed as, a young man's, you gotta be here, you gotta be hot, B. I gotta keep my head, boy. If I come in here with my age, I'm great, you OG now. Now, why can't I just be like Benny, right? And the thing is, they don't have to be OG'd out, because OG is I don't even like, people can't even call me that, right? You can't call me OJ because that dates you. That puts you in a perspective. Love the respect and the connotation of what it is, but in business, you can't be the OG because it starts with old, right? How can you be relevant saying you not when you old? Like, call me the young G then. Don't old G me, call young G me, right? And that's what the perception becomes, is like, at some point, older black men can't just be wise and be relevant in the game. You got to be old, right? But, our counterparts, they can stay and keep and redevelop and make mistakes and, stay in 60s, 70s, 80s. I'd pay all y'all $1,000 if you can get me one 70-year-old black man that's still working in a major label, one 60-year-old black man that's still working in a major label, right? And at the point with that is that, and that's just not in music, right? That's indicative in business. But because we are, as you stated, cultural, right? The culture chews you up fast. So if you don't find a way to either pivot, right? Figure it out and latch yourself in, i.e. equity, then it's coming. So don't be afraid of the exit, because the exit is coming. And that's where I decided, when I realized it was not going to be a retirement party for me, I started in real estate. So every bonus that I earned for 20 years went into purchasing something new. I never just, went and bought. I have fun too, though, right? Yeah. You know how we do it. Like, if it's 11, the odd number, you spend that, right? But you keep the round number, right? Y'all know, y'all from the South. You know how we do, right? The odd number, I'm gonna spend all the odd. Right? Right? But the even, I'm saving that. And for me, my savings was brick and mortar, right? I wanted to, be be conservative, right? But also, prepare for retirement. So I created my own retirement. Is how I started my company, Alj Britt, which we have now over 100 doors around the country, and that was due to looking at a situation and figuring out like, I'm not gonna be, an unsung, right? I'm not gonna be that story. I'm not gonna be what happened now, right? And it doesn't make me better or worse. It's like, why we all here right now, so our people don't have to make the mistakes, right? Not knowing like, when you're in your prime earning years, you need to make that money matter, right? You can't be flossing. Don't get caught up. Right? And it's just important, right, for us to really just be keen in on what we're doing when we're doing.
Man, you just touched on to a whole lot of shit that we gotta pull that apart right quick, man.
I like that he mentioned the buying the properties again, because that's like, we just had an episode not long ago with A. Donahue Baker. He got his start in the music industry as well, and it was that similar perspective with it, where it was like, okay, I'm making these big checks, but these big checks, they not gonna keep coming. I gotta turn this into forever money.
Yeah, and I like how you had that foresight, because I'm pretty sure with what you were doing, you were able to see the story happen numerous of times. People get hot, they make the money, then once they're not hot, they throw you to the side. So you had that foresight to say, okay, I can't be this. I can't let that be me. So I'm about to start putting it into something that's going to start paying me back. So that was so smart on your part for you to have that foresight. But it also talks about being a business person. And I kind of want to go back to how you were alluding to that with the artists. How do you think artists could be better business people coming into this game? How can they educate themselves or set themselves up for success before they even meet these deals, like you said? So how can they make sure that they're coming at this with the most logical way?
So I would say this, right? My entire journey, it was never about me. It was about my team, right? And it's no different than anything else, unless you're playing a solo sport, like if you're a golfer or swimmer, right? Most things that we watch are team sports, soccer, football, basketball, right? So you have to learn how to play with others and obviously process, what's best for the team. And obviously being the talent, right? We all have different strengths and weaknesses. So examining yourself is first. What am I really good at outside of just the artistry, right? Like, because you can't just zone out and I'm just the artist and lose everything, right? Like, so now it's taking baby steps, right? Figure out, what's my need, and how do I, as we were talking earlier, is how do I find the best people who are going to support me and be in this with me? In any business that I do, accountants and lawyers are always important, right? So first start there, right? And either from recommendations, right? Always keep your books in order. Like right now, you can QuickBooks, if you're figuring that out on your own, but don't be afraid of money, right? It's better to learn on a curve with a little bit of money than learn on a curve with a lot of money, right? Because then you can just adjust. I mean, there's been times as I was figuring out, I take money and just put it in a checking account. I don't want to gain interest. I don't want nothing. I just want to know it's there until I figure it out, right? Because you don't always have to move. And sometimes, stepping back and being silent and in control is far more important. But you have to be defined on who you are and what it is that you're building. Like looking at the exit, right? When you decide where you want to be, now you make moves to get there. If you just don't, right? Then everything sounds good. So planning is important for not only just artists, for us as people, right? Think beyond just the moment. Think beyond just, next week. Think beyond, next month, hand to mouth. Think about like, where do I see myself? And once you see yourself there, then you can move there. But if you don't see it, how can you? You aimless, B. You lost.
Hold on, I got it.
Message.
I had to hit him with it. But that's great advice, because too many times I remember whenever the thing happened with Joe Budden and Lil Yachty, Joe Budden was asking Lil Yachty like really great questions, like, what's going on? Do you know your deal? And he's like, nah, man, I'm just having fun. Like, this is what it is. But then a few years later, I saw that it was something going on with his deal where it was like, he realized, oh man, I am kind of getting fucked here.
A lot of people at QC was upset.
Exactly. And it's like, people were looking at Joe Budden saying, oh man, he's just hating on him. But in the actuality, he was just trying to tell him, hey man, you need to understand that this isn't going to be forever. You need to understand your exit. So the way that you put it in a very eloquent way. Just understand where you're going after you start. It's always going to have to be an exit strategy. Even with anything you're investing in, it always has to be an exit strategy. I don't even care if it's a new job that you're starting. You need to start looking at the exit strategy. I had tweeted something a few days ago. A young lady said, hey, I just got hired making $100,000. And back to what we were talking about, if they're paying her $100,000, I said, baby girl, you're worth more than that. You're about to make them more than that. If they're willing to give you that at 22 years old, you're about to make them millions of dollars. And I said, while you're there, you need to understand and develop skills that can make you even more valuable so they won't be able to replace you. Or once your time is done, you can move on and still continue to accumulate those things. And some people kind of said I was hating, but I'm like, nah, it's all a part of the exit strategy. You have to understand where you're going after you start.
And I think what you just really killed it, Jalen. And what's important for us is, in corporate is great, right? And I guess you got to think now, this generation, right? Millennials and Gen Z, right? Corporate is not where they may land in the beginning, right? And corporate is different in 2020 than it was in 2019, right? Which it will be forever moving forward, because just the structure of how people are moving. But what the value, right? What a corporation will do, even is give you structure, right? And allow you, no different than people that go in the military, right? They go in the military for what, right? For whatever reasons moves them there, but what they do come out is organized, right? They have structure, right? And then you move to do however you do, right? And that's the same thing as going into a corporation. You should be thinking about, okay, I'm going to take this for what the value of it is and be an entrepreneur, right? Is well, because at the end of the day, you can't be corporate too long. And for me, I've always had two plan A's, right? I don't do that B thing. It was two plan A's. I worked a full-time job in music and ran a full-time real estate portfolio, right? So I'm working on me in both aspects. So at the end of the day, it gives you a different kind of gravitas and strength walking into these companies, knowing like, I could care less what you say, right? Like I'm not fearful of coming to work because I've already provided, I provided for myself. And you make different decisions and choices that'll help you grow when you're not coming in scared every day, right? And we should always find out what we're good at, because we're good at more than one thing, always. We Black folk, right? We good at a lot of things, right? And realize how to hone your skill and find the value and realize when it is time. But moving forward, we definitely have to be, in you guys, in your audience, right? And us as a community, knowing like, yo, we have to think beyond just, getting me every 2 weeks.
So Benny, I want to jump into D.Verse now, man, because I read into it's pretty interesting what you built out. And I think the people definitely need to know more about D.Verse. Like, can you explain it more to them?
So D.Verse is, I can't even take the credit, like my son. So for his 18th birthday, I decided like I wanted to give him a gift that could last forever, right? And something that long after he would remember. So I told him on his 18th birthday, I'm gonna give you an LLC, right? So we needed a name, right? And he called it D.Verse Records. He wanted D.Verse Records. So got him the LLC, so he has his own company. And part of that is going back once again, teaching our kids how to deal with business, right?
Mm.
Yo, forget buying them Gucci, forget buying them a $20,000 car that you paying $400 a month so your kid got a brand new car. Give them a business so they can understand how to move out here, right? That's what we have to go back to that, right? Fundamentals. And so when I decided that I was gonna do my own thing, I came up with all these names and this and that, and it just wasn't hot, right? My name's, so I said, yo, man, listen, it's yours first. I'm just asking you for permission. Yo, can I have a little bit of that D.Verse, right? And he was like, yes. So I called my company's D.Verse Media, which is a distribution model, which I give artists independent deals, right? Where they can still maintain their masters, give them advances, give them knowledge, give them wisdom, help maneuver them through at a rate that, you know what, is negotiable on coming onto the site. Signed an artist, a little young lady out of Jackson, Mississippi. Her name is Paris Gatlin. She's quite amazing. So we also do repertoire, sign them directly to the label, and we also do licensing deals where you maintain your masters and you know, we'll upload your music and help you with your marketing.
That's what's up.
Hey man, that's dope as hell.
That's the new wave, definitely, with that, what you just mentioned, that licensing deal. I noticed that's a huge conversation around music right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants their masters. Everybody wants to own their masters. So I'm glad that you're offering that as an option with your company, because I just see that conversation so much now.
Mm-hmm.
In question, I did have a question kind of looping back to something that you had said previously. I know you said working within companies, if nothing else, can help you kind of gain that structure. Do you feel like kind of cutting your gums, working with radios and, you know, doing the distribution kind of like that, did that help you with what you're doing now as far as getting artists, getting their music out there now?
So are you referring to my early days at Motown?
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely. I mean, that was the whole journey of music. The exposure set me up to be at this point. And, you know, there's different entry points and exits for executives, right? Some of us, there's a longer window for some and shorter for others. And I think the value of what you learn in the time that you spend in a situation is really important. And my journey, I've learned a lot, right? And the biggest lesson for me in all of this is giving back, right? And I think at the beginning of this, you guys like, yo, you here? It's like, why wouldn't I be here? Like, I love what y'all do, right? Y'all youth, right? Y'all have an incredible audience, right? And ultimately, if people like me don't give it to you, then it dies, right? And then we always have to start over. And that's the problem with us as Black people. We cool with dying with it than sharing it. It hurts for us to share, right? And we just have to learn, like, you know what, it's okay, right? Usas, give it to me, baby, right? And just let it go, right? You take this and hold it. Because what you do with it, I couldn't do with it anyway, because it's you. It's not me, right? Yeah. But I want to help us by giving it to you.
And I love that. I love how that's how you're paying it forward. And a lot of people, people starting to come around, but like you said before, a lot of people are too comfortable with dying with it, or even whenever it comes to money. I've heard people say, I'd rather spend it all than leave it for the people behind me. Right. And that's the most selfish bullshit I've ever heard. Like, why would you rather spend it all instead of letting it accumulate and trickle down to someone who, instead of making them start from the starting line or behind the starting line, why wouldn't you help them start from a checkpoint? So I just love, and I just had to applaud you for that. And I wanted to applaud you for what you did with your son also. Like you said, you could have bought him a car for his 18th birthday. You could have bought him some kind of Gucci or whatever, but you said, no, let me show you how to actually make money. Let me teach you how to fish and do this on your own. So even if I were to pass away tomorrow, you're at least able to go out there and get it and provide for yourself and your family in the future. So I just had to definitely just congratulate you on that one, my brother. And now that we kind of like got through some of the music stuff, I kind of want to talk
about that app.
I want to talk about the app, but I also want to talk about the real estate, because I just want to know what was some of your requirements you were looking for whenever you were invested in the real estate. Like, what were some of the things that you were looking for? Were you in the hood? Were you looking for multifamilies? How did you kind of educate yourself on that?
So it was interesting how I actually got into real estate. Is we grew up in a 5-family house, right? I talk about it in my book. We lived in the attic. And the winters was really cold and the summers was really hot because there was no insulation, right? And my mother, she worked for the post office, and my father, he was like the black MacGyver. Like, my pops could fix, do anything, right? And it was interesting that the lady, we called her mom, who owned the house, she was moving back to Kansas. So my father, who had been, the maintenance guy for the property for her, right? And never took any money from her. He's just a good, salt of the earth kind of guy. But he took the pride in the house, right? As though it was his. So when it was time for her to leave, she said, Ben, I'm going to give you an opportunity to buy the house. And, they didn't have the money. So she's like, well, I'll hold the paper because she owned the house. So holding the paper is she holds the mortgage because she's the bank, right? Once you pay off an asset, it's yours, right? You just have to pay the taxes. So now you pay her, you pay the owner, right? As though you would pay a bank. And so she gave them the opportunity. And why does that work well? Well, it's not the same credit check, not the same requirements, not the same, traditional method that you may have to go through, which allowed them to be owners. Now, this was looking at what it was, like, you're talking about 5 families, right? So now she was gone, mom, right? So we moved from the top floor to the first floor. And now you have 4 other units that are generating income. So my pops, like, my mother, she worked at the post office, so all the benefits was covered. My father was able to be home with us, right? Like, and do his thing during the day, right? And, be him. And the house generated income. And that's where the light bulb went off for me, was like, I want to be like my dad. I want that freedom. Like, because he moved around, he was able to be with his kids, he was able to be with his friends, he was able to create, just be creative, right? And just had the freedom. Right. And that's when I got into the opportunity of making income. Was like, I'm going to build that for myself. Right. And I'm going to build it, to the best of my ability. Right. So as opportunities presented itself, I just kept going. So what is my taste? I found myself, being very broad and how I approach things. Multis obviously are the best aspect, right? But they're probably going to be more expensive just because they're income generating. I owned a whole city block in Hartford at one point. 18 units, 9 units, 8 units, 10 units, 12 units is the mix of my portfolio. Manhattan property, Chicago, Jersey, Florida, and New York, right? And in that, I always looked for a jewel. So it would be a situation where, it's always undervalued, right? Patience for me, right? And connections, meaning like, some of the best resources come from people and where they are and what they see. And I was able to put together this portfolio, one with a lot of research, right? Back before everybody was doing Zillow and, Realtor.com and all of that stuff, man, was doing that, and got into investing, flipping, holding. But the majority of what I do is hold, right? So I buy low and I hold, right? Because, I have properties that give me 40, 50% returns because I bought it so low and I own it outright. Right. And that ultimately, for somebody else, if you're talking to a finance guy, they tell you, well, listen, that's not enough return, or, you could be using your money, or real estate, you need to know your strategy of what with what it is that you want to do. So I own a mixture, to answer your question, of all kinds of things, from multis to high-end condos.
Hey, I love that. And I love how you got to start. I love how you got to see your family.
Started
like you
at
said,
home.
yeah, it started at home. Y'all moved from the top, from paying this woman her income. And then those same families that y'all was paying with ended up becoming y'all income. So I just love how you were able to learn that lesson also at a young age. And once again, be a forward thinker, being someone who had that foresight and said, this is how I kind of want to move too. Like, this is cool that my dad does not have to go out here and really bust his ass, come home late at work, not be able to see me, not be able to come to some of my things at school, because that's important. As much as we might not say, that's so important to a child when growing up. Because I remember whenever I grew up in a single family household, my mom, she couldn't make it because she had to work and provide. So even though I'm getting some of the accolades, as a child, you feel empty because you look out into that crowd, you hear people, they're clapping for you, but there's no one that you have that you can share that with. So with you being able to experience that and saying, this is what I want to do for my children, that's powerful that you were able to be instilled that into you.
But it goes deeper though, right? And it's back to what we're talking about, the lessons. Like for the companies that I worked for during my tenure, it was a requirement for everybody to own something. I taught everybody how to buy their first place. You're not going to work for me and not be an owner. Like that doesn't happen. Like it does not, you're not going to sit and applaud and look at me and, Benny got this, Benny got, no, you're going to have it too, right? And that's what's most important, right? Is showing people, not having them guess at it. Like that's, everybody who worked for me became an owner, like a property owner, because that's part of, day one conversation. How you going to teach you how to save your money? I'm going to teach you how to get it. I'm going to put you with the right people on how to, change your life and your family's life, because it starts with all of us, right? And we got to stop talking about it and be about it, right?
Hey man, that's beautiful, people, man.
I love it, man.
I love it too. So yeah, now we can move on to the app.
I do want to go to the app now. Yeah. So Benny, man, you was telling us about this app and it sounds so precious. Can you tell us more about Candid? So for people that want to know how it's spelled first, I'm gonna tell y'all it's Kandid.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So Candid is it's an amazing concept that the founder and CEO Antoine McLaughlin, a young cat at 29 years old out of Columbia, South Carolina, actually pitched me the idea in concept, right? And this is where I think the value of what I learned in entertainment, right, is as we talked about the executives that I've been a part of their careers and artists that have been a part of their careers, identifying talent. And talent is in every aspect of life. So when he brought the concept and he was raising money at the time, I was like, stop. I want what's remaining of this. I'm buying it, right? So I took the last share and we closed the round in the founders round. And what it is, it's a new concept, right? From an African-American app developer, where if you think about Instagram and you think about OnlyFans, right? Instagram is about like and followers, and OnlyFans is porn and subscription. We're micropayments, right? So what does that mean? So for example, you guys have all your behind the scene content, whether you're an athlete and you have your workout videos, or you're an artist and you want to preview some exclusive stuff that you don't want to put on the gram. So now you can come to Candid, right? And think of us as more of the Amazon of content. You as the user can come to the platform and you can offer your content for free, right? Or you can charge up to $99. And on our site, a post is up to 40 pieces of content and 10 1-minute videos, or an assortment thereof. So you top out at 40 pieces of content, photos, or 10 1-minute videos. And you now say what the price is for your
content.
Yes.
Hey, that's dope as hell.
Very interesting concept, man. I like the micropayments thing because, like, with mobile, that's definitely a trend that people have been picking up on, like with those like freemium apps and things like that, where it's like people are a lot more prone to making that small commitment each time with the little bit versus making that
Yeah,
big
I don't want to commit to you all month, man. Like, I got them jewels today. I'm like, yo, Dave, you was hot today. I may not come back again. Why am I paying for you the whole month? Like, you gave it to me today. I won't pay for it, right? It's immediate, and I can go on, right? And obviously, you're gonna, as the influencer, you're gonna create the vehicle and avenue for your folks, because you set the content of the content. We don't do that. We just provide the venue and the avenue for you now to transact, right? We're just the marketplace for you.
Hey man, that's precious. Hell, man. Y'all, has it launched already, or?
Yeah, we're in the app. We're in the app store in beta now. Like I said, KNDIID, and we're rolling out strong.
I'm going download
Top of the year.
now.
That's right. We're gonna take that one. We're gonna take that. We pitching money next week. You're right. I'm taking them too.
but that's really, really dope, especially for creatives, because there's a lot of times where people, they'll put out content, they don't know how to really monetize those skills. Or even on Instagram, you see a lot of these comedians, they're doing all of these great things and they're getting hundreds of likes and all of this and that, but at the same time, they're not making their bread on this. So it's cool that you're giving them the option to make that bread, but still provide that value that they're doing with that content.
And think about it, Erykah Badu did it best during the pandemic, where, you know, she offered her friends an opportunity to come in her house, and was it in her bedroom? You know, she performed for, you know, she charged people $1. She made over $1 million. Right?
I could believe it. Like, think about it. Like, that's why I said the way that's crazy. Because if you got the audience, you charge 99 cents. People will spend 99 cents, especially
like
on the phone.
Yeah.
Right.
They already got their information in the app store. They ain't got to think hard about it.
You already got your Apple Pay already linked.
And then one thing I think that's real cool about it goes back to what you was talking about earlier with like getting that leverage and that proof of concept too. Like if you were an artist and you were doing your own, let's say, private concerts or something on there, like a smaller artist, maybe not an Erykah Badu, then like once you go to a label or something like that, like what we were talking about earlier, now you have that leverage. No, I've done this. This is how many sales I have. This is how many tickets I can sell consistently. So now you can't give me a bad deal. I was just interested as far as like, how do you feel about that as far as how artists are going about expanding upon their brands? I know you had said earlier, you have to have like an idea of what you want your identity to be because the label is going to be a finisher. So how do you feel about like Travis Scott coming in doing deals like the concert with Fortnite and then the McDonald's Travis Scott meal and stuff like that?
Super incredible. Like Travis has always been forward, right? As an artist and kind of like what we're talking about, vision, right? Like he's always seen himself being the person he is right now, which is, I mean, I want you to follow what I'm saying. Like we were there day one when he came through the bill and Tip and those guys brought him in, right? And Jason Jeter and those guys. But he saw himself in this moment 8 years ago, right? So he moved like that. So for him to be here is not a surprise to him, right? Like y'all remember he had the little Travis style. You know, he wasn't really, you know, he kind of like defined himself. Like he's definitely urban, street, cultural, but he's doing rock stuff. Like, you know what I mean? He's defined himself and saw himself and carved his marketplace to be the success that he is. So no, not surprised. And to see the door open only allows other people who look like him and look like, you know, the culture to get the opportunities. But also what comes with that was a lot of success, right? And the kid, you know, the people who are really successful, they work really hard. The ones who aren't fly by night, like they work really hard. So, you know, it's not by chance that people who are truly successful, like they put in the hours, 10,000 hours, they say, or at least 9,999, right? They working at it, right? So it's no, that's why there are only a few superstars, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's things that separate, you know, average from supernatural, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, right, good from great, right? You know, great to phenomenal. So, you know, whatever adjective you want to play with, but it's more important to realize, like, you know, if you're gonna talk about it, you really got to be about it.
Mm-hmm. Have to put that time in. I love that
Hell
10,000
yeah.
hour rule, man.
And I'm trying to get them 10,000. I'm trying to get to 20,000. I want to
There
be
you
a
go.
master of the game, man. Telling you, I'm trying to be a sensei out here. But my question, what I wanted to go back, because I didn't know about the rec, and that really kind of hit, because you were able to do all of these great things and amass all of these accolades, but still at the end of the day, we're all human. And I just wanted to ask, what was your biggest lesson through your journey up until this point? What is the biggest lesson that you've learned up until this point?
Yeah, I'm God-fearing, right? And my center in my good times and my bad times have always been, you know, based around my faith, right? I'm blessed enough. My mom's devout Christian, right? Maybe didn't love it in the beginning, but understand the value of it where I am now, right? And and I took my principles, and you know, I took what I've learned, and I took my integrity, and I took who I am and what I stand for, right, along with me. There are things that I won't be a part of because it's not who I am, right? I'd rather, you know, it's taken me decades to get to this point, which I've seen people move much faster, but they burned out because, you know what, they took shortcuts, right? Or they compromised themselves, right? As opposed to, like, you know what, it ain't for me, so it's not for me, and move forward. So most importantly is that integrity, man. And, you know, that stays with me.
I love it. And I love it because that was pretty much the underlying theme throughout all of this. Even whenever you started talking about it, like, need to know who you're going to be coming in and going out.
That's right.
But it's just like, it's so real, because a lot of the times it don't matter what it is. You'll see a lot of people lose themselves whenever they get into something. I'll say it for my life. I remember whenever I was in car salesman, there's some of these guys, they came in and then they started shadowing some of these car salesmen, and you're the same shitty salesman that you didn't want to be coming in because you saw the money that they were making, and you started making those same mistakes.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I just love how you really drove that.
Well, Benny, my brother, we're gonna pivot to the last segment of the show. So we're gonna hop into
it's about to be over.
we're gonna hop into what's on your timeline, man. We want to see what's something that you've seen, could be anywhere, social media, on your thing, anything, man. What's something you've seen that you just feel like is important and want to speak on?
Oh man, opportunity. Like, I think back to what we were talking about with the app, right? With an African American developer, and seeing what apps do. Like, music will make you millions, right? And that's all you can see, be honest with you, right? Like, you can become a millionaire, a multi-millionaire in music. An app, you can become a billionaire, right? And I saw, when I first got in April into this app, we were reading on TechCrunch, and OnlyFans was probably around valued at $600 million, right? During the pandemic, they're now ramping up to probably close to a $2 billion
Crazy
company, right? And none of us are there. None of us who look like us, no opportunity for that. And so now my dreams, right? So there was an article this morning out in Bloomberg, just looking at talking about how the process in less than 3 years, right? Companies valued at almost $2 billion. So that's what I'm looking at, right? Looking at how these opportunities are moving and how we're going to be a part of it, right? And realizing, like, now, you know, I've my paradigm has shifted. I'm looking at, I'm dreaming in a whole nother level, right? Just because how we rise, we can bring folks along. So that's where I'm at with it.
And that's so powerful, because I think A. Donahue the Baker also said it. He's like, whenever you see, like, mark my words, the first child billionaire is going to come from a tech platform. And it's so crazy because, like you're saying, we need to be able to take those people with us. There's a lot of times where children, they're learning tech and stuff like that. Sometimes we might not understand, us as parents or like the older generation, we might not understand what's going on with this tech. But I think that we should be as embracing and try to understand, what's going on with these kids in this sphere, because there's a lot of opportunity for growth, like you're saying, with companies like Roblox. Roblox is a company that teach kids how to code at a very simple level. I think that we should definitely be encouraging our kids to get into those fields. And no knock to the music industry, but it's so much more than that. Like you said, that's what's stopping us from being millionaires versus creating billionaires. We need to understand how to, if we want to stick with the music industry, how can we tap into the equity side? How can we
That's right. Only.
Yes. How can we stop being the commodity versus being the person who's actually at the trading post? Yes. Like we have to understand how to do that. But if that's not what it's going to be, we need to understand how can we own this software, these platforms, any type of these minimal viable products that's going to be launching. We need to understand that we need to own that and not selling it while before that real value is there. That's another thing that I see. Like you said, OnlyFans went from being worth 600 million
to 2 billion
in the same year.
Like,
bro, come on.
Same year.
That's crazy.
So that's what I just wanted to say off of that. We need to understand the value and the potential for growth and not selling while it's too early. One of my favorite tech people that I love is Evan Spiegel. Evan Spiegel is a fucking dog. He's a fucking beast. Motherfucking Mark Zuckerberg came to him with $1 billion fucking offer, and he said, "Fuck you and that offer."
It was $3 billion, bro.
But that was the first time. The first time, was it $1 billion or was it
3 then 30? And he turned it down both times.
Shit, I was still 3 billion, 30 billion. Google came to him with an offer. He said, "Nope, y'all can't have it, but y'all can buy equity in it." Like, you have to be able to stand on your nuts and really just have that vision for yourself and really just say, "No, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm gonna get out of it."
Yo, you murdered that, baby.
Hey,
yo, Jalen, you murdered that, man. I might have to end the show, bro. Like, yo,
This is
B, like, might drop something out, yo, B, like, yo, you can't. Jesus, that was hot, B. You went in.
Man.
But I think you were spot on though, and I definitely do want to just echo what you said in regards to the tech space, right? And that's where we as creatives, right, need to understand, right, what our visions are and what our growth is and where we should be now. Like, just like music is where everybody wants to be, some people need to go to tech. Like, you understand? That is a whole nother game and level of just like,
future.
Jesus, right? Like, it's just the value is untapped, right? And it's different, right? On when you, as I started in this conversation talking about, there are very few 60-year-old, 70-year-old African-American people at the table. Man, you might wait a long time for you see one of us floating around in tech, right? And to see this young man and being a part of helping him build this is phenomenal for me, and I'm super excited of what the future is and the team that we're building. So you're gonna hear a lot of great things from Candid. Just a note for you guys, once again, my book On Impact is dropping in 2021. I'm super excited about that. Pre-order going up, and I'm available anytime, day and night. BennyPew.com is my website.
I was just gonna ask you, my brother.
Hey man, that man's a forward thinker. I'm telling you, man, visionary.
I was gonna ask you, man. Like, the people gotta know, man. First off, I need y'all to go download Candid, because that's we just got. I think we all just downloaded that, so they can follow you on social media at Benny Pew.
At Benny Pew, BennyPough. That's my handles on everything.
Hey, y'all tap in. Y'all definitely tap in. And I just want to commend you again, man. Thank you for reinvesting back into the community. Thank you for taking the time out to get on our platform and drop these gems, everything that you got going on, bro. I just want to say thank you.
Now, thank y'all, bro. And I'll be back.
For
Hey,
sure.
no, most
Bro.
definitely. Yeah, this is just this.
Or
is
actually,
the
you know what
beginning.
we might do? We might do this on Candid and get some bread.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, fellas.
For sure.
All right, my brother. But before
we
wrap
go,
up,
we do want to hop into a few house cleaning items so we wrap this thing up. So as always, everybody, thank y'all for tuning into the Black Wealth Renaissance podcast. If you're a fan of the show, if you're the first time listener, like we said, y'all leave some feedback. Let us know. We appreciate y'all tuning in every week.
Yeah.
We've seen growth is ridiculous. Y'all also make sure to tap in with our ebook, Managing Money Like the 1%. You're trying to get your finances together, that's definitely the plug. We also have our course, Credit Fundamentals 101, which also is educating you on
The
how
credit
you can
system.
use credit to leverage it, build yourself up, and just move smarter.
I got money on my mind. I'm just trying to get some dough. I ain't picking up my line unless it's money on the phone.